Very social.
Okay, we are getting started, and we're commenting on everybody being as close as possible to a 9:30 start time. See, that's how you do things, Bill. Everyone's here. Look, Steve's right here, even. It's a new era. Don't worry, it's not going to last.
I'm trying to get used to the new seating arrangement.
My left-hand man. So welcome, everyone, to the Maricopa County formal board meeting. Thanks for being here. Item number one is, as always, our invocation and pledge of allegiance. I'd like to turn it over to my vice chairman, Jack Sellers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to introduce Darian Ellison, who is the Deputy Director of Human Resources, and he will be doing the invocation and the pledge for us today.
If you could all please rise.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the many blessings that we've been given. We are grateful for this day, and we are grateful for this beautiful and free land in which we live. We pray at this time that we might have thy Spirit in this meeting and throughout the rest of the day as we seek to make the Maricopa County better. We also pray at this time for those that are protecting our freedoms, and we pray for those that are our first responders, that they might have thy Spirit and protection to be with them. We pray for those that are in need and those that are suffering, that their needs might be met and that we might recognize the opportunities in which we have to serve and to lift those around us. We pray for these blessings and others that we stand in need of, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Item number 3, roll call. The clerk, Ms. Fran McCarroll, will you please call roll?
Thank you, Chairman. Supervisor Gates?
Here.
Supervisor Chukri?
Here.
Supervisor Sellers?
Here.
Oh, she's going to sneeze.
Pardon me. Supervisor Sellers?
Here.
Supervisor Gallardo?
Here.
And Chairman Hickman?
Here. Thank you, Fran. That was fun watching that.
I'm sorry.
Look towards the light.
I thought you'd forgotten my name.
Never. Okay. Item number 4, the pet showcase by Maricopa County Animal Care and Control. Jose Santiago is here from Animal Care and Control. Nice. Appointed.
Yes, good morning. I want to start off by saying that I did not name this animal, so when I tell you her name, you'll figure out why I'm prefacing that. Her name is Fran, and so she did come into our shelter as a stray. Now, from your vantage point, you probably can't see this, but she is blind and she is deaf. She is a senior gal, but she doesn't want her age or her lack of physical abilities to be a deterrent. She gets around quite well. She walks quite well on a leash. She is house trained, and she doesn't appear to be skittish or scared of anyone, and is quite content to be somebody's lap dog. And again, she's about 12 years old. So we're hoping that somebody out there will give her an opportunity to live out her senior years in the comfort of their home versus at the shelter, although she's being taken care of quite well there. But it would do her much better to be at a home environment rather than the shelter environment. I also want to bring up the fact that we had a very successful adoption weekend, one of our most successful ones without any kind of event. The general public was coming forward and adopted quite a few animals from us. We did about 75 adoptions on Saturday alone, which is a really good day for us without there being a special event or an incentive for the public to come in. So again, this is Fran, and we're hoping that somebody out there will just give her a chance.
Awesome. Jose, I have a question for you when it comes to adoption events and stuff. Do we track back on people's addresses by chance to see if there's a hot area for pets and make it easier for those people? Because if a lot of our pets are going to specific areas, of the county. I just wondered if you ever track that.
We do, because everybody who adopts has to show a valid ID. So we have a general idea of where everybody's coming from. So we have a good idea of where the people are coming in to visit us from, if they're coming more to the east shelter or the west shelter. And we do use that information when people reach out to us for special events, for offsite adoptions. And we're also using that information because of our partnership with Petco. We're going to be doing more and more within their stores. So when we have an idea of what particular areas people are adopting from, that gives us an idea of what Petco's to go ahead and target as well.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you for that. Fran,
Yes, sir.
you're hearing your name a lot today.
Yes.
Are there any announcements or corrections to the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, on page 9 of your agenda is PZ5. It is currently on the consent agenda, and there is a request to move it to the regular agenda. So when you come to that section, you'll be moving PZ5 to the regular agenda. There's also one correction on page 21 of your agenda, and it is item number 9. At the bottom of the first paragraph, it says the participants will be limited to 1,200. That should be changed to a maximum of 1,500. It's on page 21, item number 9, change 1,200 to 1,500.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope my colleagues paid attention to that. They'll be making those motions. So, very good. Well, then we will go to planning and development. Item number 5 is the Maryland Ridge Subdivision Assurance Agreement and Resolution. The board will now consider item number 5.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of item number 5.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Thank you, guys. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. So now we will go to the planning and zoning consent agenda. PZ, well, first of all, I'm going to call on Jen Pekorski and Darren Gerard to come on up if there are questions. PZ1 is Papago Solar. PZ2 is Surprise RV Storage. PZ3, Masterpiece Church. PZ4, Honey Hive Farms. PZ5, which we were told is currently the Royal Oaks Life Care. PZ6 is Grandview Terrace. PZ7 is Harvest Alma School. So would anyone like to make a motion about PZ5?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve PZ5
To go to the regular agenda?
to go to the regular agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We'll get to that one later. Okay, so Clerk, is there anyone present to comment on items PZ1 through PZ7 now?
None, Mr. Chairman.
The board will now consider agenda items PZ1 through PZ7, not including PZ5 for later.
Move approval?
We got a motion and a second. Thank you both. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Now moving on to the consent agenda, PZ8, Freeman Property, PZ9, Sevilla Property, PZ10, St. Clair Technologies, PZ11, Holt Property Rezone, PZ12, Maryland Ridge Estates, PZ13, Verde River Unit 7A. Fran, is there anyone present to comment on items PZ8 through PZ13?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing-
Mr. Chairman, Jen is really making us work hard this morning with all of these. And with that, I would make a motion to approve those items.
Very good. Hard work on display here. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
We didn't get a second.
I thought we got a second. No?
I missed it.
Second.
Okay, now we do. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Jack, for that second.
Took you long enough.
Now on to planning and zoning on the regular agenda. PZ 14, Born to Run. Item PZ 14 will need to be continued to the January 29th meeting to be in compliance with public notice requirements. So, hearing that, we will need a vote to continue the item. I will entertain a motion to continue this item to January 29th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I move PZ 14
To continue?
to continue.
January 29th.
Yeah, on to January 29th. Okay, thank you, Jack.
Second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next on planning and zoning on the regular agenda, PZ 15, Anchor Point Welding. Again, Jen and Darren are up here. Madam Clerk, is there anyone present to comment on item PZ 15? Should I go to this, and do you guys need to make any statements before we go to remarks? Okay,
These are in favor to speak. This one only speak if needed.
okay, thank you. Okay. Great seeing you guys. Thank you, Jen. Please.
Chairman Hickman, members of the board, the Anchor Point welding case, the Z 2019-019, is a special use permit to allow a home-based. When I say home-based, it means that the business owner lives on the property. It's a welding business in a rural zoning district, and the property is located about a quarter mile north of Carefree Highway on 10th Street in the New River area. We've received 29 letters of support and 14 letters of opposition. The 14 letters of opposition are from 9 unique people. And so you can see from the map, the properties that is coded in blue is the property that's seeking the special use permit. The properties that are yellow, we have not heard support or opposition from. The properties in green are in support, and the properties in red are opposed. The properties in red trigger a supermajority vote because they're over 20% in area and also number. The opposition, the main concerns from the neighbors are related to noise, dust, and the intensity of the use in the rural residential area. So to mitigate the neighbors' concerns, the special use permit contains several stipulations, such as all welding business and the use of the power tools take place in a large shop that will be built on site. They will also be constructing an 8-foot block wall along the western perimeter of the property to block the view of the materials that are used for the business. And then also there will be gravel or pavers on the main traffic areas on the site, which will limit and mitigate the dust. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval on a vote to 7-1. The staff report to the board mentioned that the vote was 8-0. I'd like to correct that. It was actually 7-1. There is also one change to a stipulation on the case, Stipulation D, that I would just like to read into the record at this time. Stipulation D states this special use permit shall expire 10 years from the date of approval by the Board of Supervisors for a period of 90 or more consecutive days or upon termination of the use, whichever occurs first. That's the stipulation that will stay with the case. What we deleted from that stipulation was all of the site improvements shall be removed within 60 days of such termination or expiration. So that stipulation was included, and the modification to it is included in a handout to you. And the reason why we're deleting all the site improvements are because the site improvements are allowed to be built, a barn or any kind of storage building is allowed by right in a rural zoning district. So that's not necessary for the special use permit. So at this point, I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Chairman, where is this located?
10th,
New River, District 3?
yeah, 10th Street and Carefree Highway.
Okay. So, didn't know if there's any questions or any concerns as of yet. This is in your district. Supervisor Gates, would you like me to have speakers come up
I
first?
would,
Okay.
yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Okay, then we'll take speakers right now. The first up is Mr. Jeff Mitteleider. Is that close? Mitteleider, okay. Thank you for being here today.
Good morning. I'd just like to say I'm in support of it, and that area out there is a lot of small businesses, and he keeps his property immaculate from what you can see on the pictures. And as far as the red there, that's the same lady owns all that to the south. That's one property. And that's pretty much, I'm just saying I'm in favor. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for coming today. Next up is Mr. Thomas Baird.
The red is all one person? Is there,
The red is owned by members of the same family.
oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Baird, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm in the little green kind of catacorny right there from, I know they said something about dust issues and stuff like that, but there's really no paved road out there at all. So when the garbage trucks go down the road every morning at 6 o'clock in the morning with their beepers on, the dust flies. There's just no way to limit the dust. These guys have done so much already to limit the dust. I mean, his yard has pavers all over it. It's a beautiful yard. I mean, he's gone out of his way to, I think, help the neighborhood and improve the neighborhood and bring up the property values. My property value has increased almost $150,000 since I moved into that neighborhood in the last 5 years. So, you know, concerns about noise, these are all horse properties. I mean, the horses kick up more dust than the cows, and probably these guys will ever kick up in a lifetime. I mean, there's roping arenas out there. This is not your normal, typical cookie cutter residential area where everybody's got a homeowners association. That's why everybody moves out there, is to be able to have that freedom to ride your horses and rope and be able to do little projects and stuff like this. So I'm 100% in support of him. Everybody in the neighborhood that's around me, the houses there, have all signed a petition for him. And we're hoping that you guys will allow him to continue on with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baird. Thanks for joining us today. Next up is Mr. John McMahon, also wishing to speak in favor.
Morning, Supervisors. My name is Michael Rowland, and I'm the attorney for Anchor Point Welding. And this is John McMahon and John Thiel, the co-owners of Anchor Point Welding. John Thiel resides in the property.
Can you state who you are? And
yes, my name is Michael Rowland. I'm their attorney, and I'm just wanted to introduce both of them
Okay.
because they're both going to be up here at the same time.
Okay.
Hello, Board.
Good morning.
I guess you could call the co-owner or business partner for John Thiel with Anchor Point Welding.
Okay.
I just like to say that, you know, we just want to keep running our business. You know, this is part of our livelihood, and this will continue to allow us to do that. We have some opposition by some of the neighbors, but we have taken the steps to mitigate that problem as far as we can. We've gone door to door as much as we can to talk to neighbors, talk about their concerns, and deal with the concerns they have as far as dust, noise, and as far as our plans. It says what we plan on doing is to eliminate any problems that this could cause for the neighbors. I know some of the neighbors are concerned about the amount of traffic that comes through there, but we really don't have that much traffic. There's more traffic from, like they said, the garbage trucks, the school buses. There's been claims that we've had semi-loads of trucks, you know, coming through on a daily basis. That's untrue. Our amount of traffic that comes through for our business is very minimal. I mean, because of the nature of what we do, we might have 1 or 2 people come by in a week. That's the nature of our traffic that comes to the property.
Great. Okay. Thank you for being here. And Mr. Jonathan Thiel?
Yes.
Thiel. Welcome.
I'm the owner of the property and co-owner of the business. We've been operating there for 3 years. And in the 3 years that we've been operating, We haven't had the sheriff's department come by based on a noise complaint, and we haven't had the dust, what's the people that come out and
Air quality?
Air quality. We haven't had air quality or dust control come around to give us any citations for kicking up dust. So I think that pretty much speaks for itself. Once again, we just want to continue running the business. We're not trying to cause a problem with any of the neighbors, so we're willing to work with the board and do what's necessary to remain as low profile as possible.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for your remarks. It's nice to see Maricopa County business owners, and lots of them come here today. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I had a couple questions.
Oh, sure.
Be all right? Okay, great. Thanks so much, gentlemen. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming in on Monday. Appreciate the opportunity to learn more about your business and the efforts that you've made already with the neighbors out there. Wanted to just kind of get clear on a couple things. I know, what are your hours of operation going to be there?
9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Sometimes we might work on a Saturday, but that'll be between 9 and 11 or 12 on a Saturday.
And is that the Saturday hours? Is that something that you mentioned in anything that was provided
Up
before?
till now, no.
Okay.
It's occasionally we might do that, but we will try to keep it within 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Okay. Yeah. Jen.
Chairman Hickman, Supervisor Gates, if I may add, the SUP stipulates that their hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's included in the narrative. So the stipulation stipulates to what they have in the narrative. So we would enforce against any sort of operation of the business on the weekends.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, so you understand that and
Absolutely.
agree to that?
Then that's what we will stick to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then also there's a fence that you guys have agreed, or a wall that you've agreed to put up. Is that going to cover will that encircle the entire perimeter?
That will encircle the entire perimeter.
Okay.
So that will cover the east side, the south side, and the
West side.
or the west side, the south side, the east side, and the north side are going to be raised 2 feet. They're at 6 feet right now, but we'll raise them 2 feet to 8 feet.
Okay, okay, excellent. I appreciate that. And again, just to make clear then, all the work that you guys are going to be doing is in an enclosed structure that you're going to build?
Yes, sir. A 55 by 60 by 27 and a half tall steel building. Bunger's doing the steel building for us, and it will be insulated, so it will cut down on the noise.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think those are all the questions that I had here. So thank you for your willingness to work with the neighbors on this. Very, very important, right? You always want to have good relationships with your neighbors.
Absolutely.
So thanks for your efforts.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. There was one more item, just to make sure I mention it. Mr. Hans Thiel also is in favor, but doesn't look like speak if needed. Do you feel like you need to speak, or are we all good? Okay, thank you, Hans. Thank you for being here.
One additional one. Jeff Costlow
Okay.
is in opposition.
Okay, so this just came in, so there is a speaker slip filled out on the opposition side. Mr. Jeff Costlow? Mr. Costlow, please come up if you'd like to speak.
My name is Jeff Costlow. I live directly east. I've been here, spoke to you folks once before. It shows that I'm not opposed. I don't have a problem, I have a big problem. I'm the one that listens to it all. It's right against my property. I bought a residential house Nobody that I know of have horses. The property's right to the south of him. That's untrue. There's 2 families that own 2 pieces of property. The next one is nothing to do with them at all. Jeff, the gentleman that just spoke, Mettler, he did what was done. The gravel, the pavers, there's been no improvement there. He does keep it clean, but that doesn't have nothing to do with it. I bought a home in a residential area. Which one of you guys would want a welding company beside you? He has threatened me. He has accused me of turning everybody in the neighborhood. He's threatened Jan Salazar, and he's threatened Mrs. Reynolds. It's unbelievable. The people right to the right wrote you guys a letter. I seen it and opposed to it. Everybody around him, but who is subjected to it is me. He's right up against my property. You don't have me listed as being opposed to the project. You show it in red. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do. Which one of you guys would want that next to you? You buy a house in a residential area and then a guy comes along and wants to open up a commercial spot. It's wrong. I'm upset. I'm disabled. This morning I got woke up at 5 o'clock. Bang, bang, bang. I got beds sticking up against my fence, above them. What's right about this? That gentleman right there used to own the property. How does people that live a mile or so away have anything to do with the condition or how they feel about what's going on there? He didn't put no gravel in, he didn't put no pavers in. It's just lie. And then I got to tell you folks, he don't even live there. He's lying about it.
Okay, Mr. Castle? Yeah, this is the last one. So let me just for clarification's sake, you said you are not registered as opposed, but I see, and you said you live right next door to it. Which parcel is yours? What color is it?
I'm right to the east of him, right? It would be 211, 52, right to the east of him. That's my property. It would, yes, ma'am. It would block my views. It's Trinity, the only view I have.
Okay.
That's okay.
Okay, so it is marked in red, though, as we.
No, it is not. It's marked in beige.
Oh, it's the beige one.
Right behind him.
Oh, right behind. Got it. Okay.
These houses here, there is family. The kids own one. Ray passed away, and the other one's Jeanette. The other one, I don't know the guy's name, but that's somebody totally different.
I am really going to have to start bringing my readers. Okay, so there's a question right now from Supervisor Gates.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Coslow, for coming down. I appreciate it. So again, we got that clear then. You're the parcel directly to the east, so that should be in red.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And have you had an opportunity to speak with these gentlemen about your concerns?
I did. I was totally honest, and then he threatened me.
So let me stop you there. When you say threatened, what do you mean? What words did they say to you?
Quote unquote, you ain't shit. I've got the money. It's owned by a corporation. There ain't nothing you can do. And you can be taken out at any time. He also threatened John and Jeanette Reynolds.
Okay, and do you know what was said to them specifically?
John threw him off his property. Yes. He had been drinking, and he said he's going to kill her.
Okay. Well, this is very, very concerning, what you've alleged here. So thank you for coming. Thanks for expressing some of your concern. Go ahead.
The other thing is they try and blame it on the garbage trucks. The garbage truck is once a week. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the road in front of 10th Street is ripped up because of the big rigs and beep, 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 and, forklift pulling these things back up, beds stacked up above the fence. you know, and then grinding and hammering and crap going on. Jeff, when you lived there, I never said nothing.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
You're not
yeah,
living
sorry.
there.
Let's go ahead and, I'm going to defer. I think you've clearly stated your case. So let me go ahead and have a seat, and I would like to speak to Supervisor Gates. So,
Yeah, thank you very much,
Thank you.
sir. Thanks for coming down.
I'm sorry for losing
That's okay.
it. This is everything I got. It's a residential area.
Okay.
Not a commercial building.
Thank you very much for your remarks.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm sure the board appreciates it.
Yeah, thank you. So-
Supervisor Gates.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate it. Obviously, as you can see, we, have some strong held feelings here, and I think that at this point, there are some issues that need to be worked out. Everyone's going to be neighbors here. And so we need to work on some issues. We need to talk through this. I would like to have the applicant. I said on Monday when I asked you guys if you'd be willing to have a discussion with the neighbors, and obviously that needs to happen at this point. We want to make sure that we can address the concerns. There have been some pretty serious allegations that are made here. You're certainly free to come up and address those if you'd like. But again, I'm not in a position to put a motion on the table without addressing this. Quite frankly, we've had a lot on the go up here, and I have not had a chance to put my eyeballs on this property, so I'd like to do that in the meantime as well. But Mr. Chair, if you'd be willing, I think it's probably only
Sure.
fair to give them a chance to respond to that.
I thank you, Supervisor Gates. When people are directed in that manner, we do absolutely need to make sure that whoever's having those accusations thrown at them, they need to be able to answer those accusations.
Well, that's definitely surprising to me. I have talked to Jeff. In the beginning, he said he was for me because Jeff himself has been running a auto repair business out of his yard. I haven't said anything to anybody about it. He's been running it for the amount of time that Jeff Mittleiter was living there for 20 years. And he's trying to do it under the radar. I brought up the fact that I'm going to have to put up a building. He didn't like the fact that I had to put up a building. He was concerned that it was going to decrease the value of his property. And originally he wanted me to do it in a manner that would be consistent with the architecture in the neighborhood. And I said, there's no way I'm going to do that because it's going to be more expensive to do a 2x2 and Adobe and wood frame building that size. It was going to be too pricey for me. Now, Jeff had mentioned that he had an issue with people having shipping containers out in their yards. And I just in that same week, I knew that somebody had been turned into the county for having a shipping container. And I said, it's kind of odd that you're bringing up shipping containers when I know this other person was just turned into the county for having a shipping container.
Yes.
If you don't mind me, just let me, and I appreciate all that. I'd just like to give you, I've got like one question, and
Sure.
then again, I think that you folks need to sit down and have some more discussion. But there was a suggestion made, I think, of noise and work being done on beds at 5 this morning. Did that occur?
Absolutely not. I was at a gym this morning at 5 o'clock, so I was not outside working at 5 in the morning. And I'm pretty sure if I had been, other neighbors would have called in and complained about it. As far as threatening his life, I've never threatened anybody. Jeanette has never been on my property. I spoke to her.
Now, and when you say Jeanette, who's that?
Jeanette is directly to the south of me. And the only time I spoke to her was about 3 days after I moved in. Ray introduced me, and that was the last time I talked to her.
Okay. Well, again, my suggestion, you can talk to your attorney, is if there's an opportunity, it sounds like Jeanette and Mr. Koslow are where the opposition's coming from. If you can have an opportunity to talk with them, work through any additional issues, that would be very helpful when this comes back to the board.
Sure, absolutely. If they're willing to talk to me, absolutely.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so if you would like to come out and fill out a speaker form, I can't address people from the audience. Right over here with our clerk.
For now, just put your name at the top.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I am one of the part owners of the red parcel directly to the south. I'm Ray's son. He passed away this past year.
Okay.
My mother lives south of Huz. So I know she does feel threatened. She was even telling me the other day that she was out front and the property owner was there talking to somebody and he pointed over at her and she felt threatened and she went inside. We have not had any communication between him and us. So I have other health issues with the design of this project.
Okay.
So I do agree that some discussions need to happen before this moves forward.
Okay.
All right?
For the record, is he opposed?
Yes, I am.
You are opposed as well. Okay. So we have that in the record. Clearly state your name again? I know that we got.
Ronald Reynolds.
Ronald Reynolds. Okay, Mr. Reynolds. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I think we've gotten through the commentary part. I appreciate everybody coming and addressing the board today. Supervisor Gates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And at this time, I would make a motion to continue this item until the next formal meeting of the Board of Supervisors, January 29th.
I would second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We got a motion and a second for a continuance for a date certain of the next formal board meeting on January 29th. I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, thank you. We will go back now to the topic, because it's a little bit disjointed on that item PZ5, where we pulled out to go into the regular agenda, the PZ5 Royal Oaks Life Care. If that's okay, Fran?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Jen, if we're moving it off consent, would you tell us why now it's in regular agenda?
Chairman Hickman, members of the board, the applicant on this case asked for, provide an update to us regarding the requested minimum parking spaces. So they actually wanted to adjust their parking spaces down, and staff agrees with their request. So if I may, I'd like to read the recommended changes to conditions A and C, and we have a handout for you as well. And so staff agrees with these recommended changes to conditions A and C. The new conditions would read, development of the site shall be in substantial conformance with the narrative report entitled C2 Commercial Unit Plan of Development for Royal Oaks, consisting of 48 pages, stamped received on November 21st, 2019, except as modified by the following condition. Within 30 days of approval, the applicant shall submit a revised narrative to include the updated parking table. And then change to condition C, the following C2 CUPD standards shall apply. 1, maximum building height 55 feet. 2, minimum parking spaces, 942 vehicle spaces, 55 ADA, and 253 golf cart spaces.
Golf cart spaces, okay. Is this in Sun City?
Yes, it is.
I remember working on a law about that. All right.
One of them's for the zoning attorney too, because it's sitting up there in age, yeah.
That's horrible. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Sellers.
I move approval of agenda item PZ5 with the changes recommended by staff.
Great, thank you. Jack, do I hear a second?
Second, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Jen and Darren. That's a good size. Okay, now we'll move on to statutory hearings under Clerk of the Board. Item 6, liquor license applications. Item A is owner transfer for Dillon's at Western Trail Ranch. Item B is temporary extension of premises patio for 10 Top Bar and Grill. C through I, special event license for Knights of Columbus, Fun Lakers Club, Sun City West Zermagy Club, Central Arizona Mountain Bike Patrol Association, Southwest Wildlife Conservation Center, and the Adelante Foundation, Inc. Fran, is there anyone present to comment on items 6A through 6I?
None, Mr. Chairman.
The board will now consider items 6A through 6I.
Move approval?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Still under Clerk of the Board, item number 7, Public Service Franchise Sprint Communications Company, LP. Fran, is anyone present to comment on item 7?
None, Mr. Chairman.
The board will now consider item 7.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Under County Officers, County Attorney number 8, Settlement of Agreement and Stephen Gibson versus Maricopa County et al. Under Sheriff, number 9, Amend License Agreement with Luke Air Force Base. Okay,
As
we'll get
amended. As amended.
as amended. Okay. Number 10, Trade-in Items for Credit. Number 11, One-Time Addition to Fleet. Number 12, Supplement to Agreement with the Office of National Drug Control Policy. Number 13, Competition and Practical with MJ Martin, Inc. 14, Annual Renewal of Deep Undercover Vehicle Registrations. It's getting close for glasses. Number 15, IGA with the City of Tempe. And under the Treasurer's Office, number 16, Tax Abatements. The board will now consider items 8 through 16.
Mr. Chair, motion to approve items 8 through 16.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Thanks to both of you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Under County Offices and Departments, Animal Care and Control, item 17, amend New Hope contract with Canine Connection. Under Correctional Health, number 18 is a budget adjustment. Under Finance, number 19, annual adjustment to inmate booking and housing fees. Number 20, funds, transfers, and warrants. The board will now consider items 17 through 20.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
I'll give it to Bill. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Human Resources, number 21, Employee Benefits Plan and Administrative Changes. 22, Market Ranges. Under Human Services, 23 through 25, amend agreements and grant with Wildfire, Community Bridges, Department of Housing and Urban Development. Under Planning and Development, item 26, resolution for IGA among Maricopa County, City of Chandler, and Chandler Unified School District number 80. The board will now consider items 21 through 26.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval, but I'd like to make a comment on item number 26.
Okay.
I really appreciate the fact that the City of Chandler and Maricopa County have worked with the Chandler Unified School District to simplify this process. So
Great.
thank you for that.
Thank you, Jack. I
Second,
have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, with a comment as well.
As second, Mr. Chukri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On item number 21, I had the opportunity to speak with Joy Rich and Jan Plank. I think this is forward thinking. In 15, we did personnel reform. And I understand this to mean, too, that we have to be careful because we have good talent, as we saw with Mr. Wiley, that we needed to recruit back. And this will still allow us to do that. And I'm a full believer in setting the stage and managing our future, especially as it relates to our employees and our future employees. But I also want to be cognizant of the fact that we still have good talent who might retire out, and we still may need them to come back in certain cases, or in other cases where they just come back and want to have continue a career. So I believe we're mindful of that. We're all on the same page, and I certainly don't want any unintended consequences to occur here with this agenda item, and believe that they will not.
Thank you, Steve, and thanks for pointing that out. It's great work by Joy and her staff to get us there. So thank you to all of them. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Under Public Health, number 27, amend IGA with Arizona Department of Health Services. Number 28, IGA with Arizona Department of Health Services. Under Real Estate, number 29, amend a lease with the City of Phoenix. The board will now consider items 27 through 29.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Still under real estate, the number 30, Southwest Gas Corporation grant of easement. This item requires unanimous consent of the board. The board will now consider item number 30. This item requires a unanimous roll call vote.
However, I need a motion.
We need a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman, I move item number 30 be approved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye or no. I have to now take the vote. Okay. Can never get that one right.
I'm sorry. Supervisor Gates.
Aye.
Supervisor Chukri.
Aye.
Supervisor Sellers.
Aye.
Supervisor Gallardo.
Aye.
And Chairman Hickman.
Aye. Thank you, Fran. Motion carries. Under Transportation, number 31, rescind action regarding road file number A572. Number 32, easement right-of-way and relocation assistance documents. And under the Board of Supervisors, number 33, reappointment to the Maricopa County Cooperative Extension Board. The board will now consider items 31 and, how come it says 31 and 33? 31, 32, and 33.
Yes. Pardon the error.
No, no problem.
Motion to approve items 31 through 33 with a comment.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Good. Supervisor Gates.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. On number 33, this is a reappointment of John Augustine to the Maricopa County Cooperative Extension Board. Other than the Hickman family and my wife's family, I don't think there's anyone out there with more knowledge of ag. And talk about shooting for the stars. I shot for the stars when I asked John to serve. I was thrilled he agreed to do that. He's doing an incredible job in a very important role, and thrilled he's willing to re-up. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't see that name, so thank you for calling out John. He's an absolute font of knowledge about agriculture and the history of this state. So good to see that he's going to be serving. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Under setting of hearings, planning and development, number 34, planning and zoning cases. The board will now consider item 34.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you to both of you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Under consent agenda, 35 through 36, donations. 37, secured and unsecured tax roll corrections. 38, tax abatements. 39, Head Start report. 40, minutes. 41, annual statement to the state treasurer. 42, duplicate warrants. 43, settlement and resolution of property tax cases and claims. The board will now consider items 35 through 43.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Chukri. I have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Thank you, Jack. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We will now recess as the Board of Supervisors and convene as the Flood Control District Board of Directors. Flood Control District, F1, agreement with Arizona Board of Regents. F2 is a license agreement with Midwestern University. The board will now consider items F1 and F2.
Move for approval.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. We'll now adjourn as the Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as the Library District Board of Directors. Under Library District, L1, donations. The board will now consider item L1.
So moved, Mr. Chairman, and we are, as always, very appreciative of these generous contributions.
Thank you, Supervisor Chukri.
Second.
I have a
stared
second.
him
You did. I watched that happen. Great. Thank you, Bill. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Now, under the Board of Supervisors, we will now adjourn as the Library District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Item number 44 is our public comment period. Fran, has anyone turned in a request to speak under public comment?
I have none this morning, Mr. Chairman.
Boy, somebody heard our chairman's address. They don't even want to come and talk to us. They know that we have this down pat. That's the case. Right, Bill? Okay. So thank you. Being that there are no public comments, we'll move to item number 45, Supervisor Summary of Current Events. I would like to add, let Joy go first this time. Nothing this morning. Okay, Bill.
I talked a lot last year. I'm not going to say anything.
Great. Steve.
I think it would be a wise man to say nothing at this point. We'll keep it going.
Great. Jack, the pressure's on you.
Okay, I'll make this brief.
He has a list.
Okay, our State Transportation Board got a tour of the new South Mountain Freeway prior to the official opening, and during that tour, we also passed and talked about the planned work on I-10 Broadway curve that will start later this year. And we all need to pay attention to that because that's going to be very disruptive. Every bridge in the Broadway curve will be replaced. Our State Transportation Board meeting last month was in Phoenix at MAG in honor of me completing my year as chair and 6 years on the board. Passing the gavel will take place in Yuma this Friday. I spent a week in Taiwan that included celebrating New Year's at Taipei 101, which is fabulous. With their elections happening the week after we left, we got to learn a lot about their election process and how important maintaining a democracy is for them. The newly elected vice president is a friend who was the mayor of Tainan when they formed a sister city relationship with Chandler. And I will mention one other thing. We visited a company while I was in Taiwan that does recycling, and it was kind of exciting because they basically understand the problems that all the cities and towns in this area are having right now because the restriction that China's put on what they accept. They will only accept recycling materials with 5% contamination. This company says they have a process where they can handle up to 30%, and they are interested in establishing an operation in Arizona. So I'm referring all their information to my friends at the different municipalities and let the people that are experts in this area find out whether or not they really do have a process that would work for us. So with that, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Hey, a quick question on that. What do they recycle? Are they bent towards plastics or paper, or what is that?
Everything.
Everything? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there's 101 stories to Taipei 101. I'd like to ask Supervisor Sellers if he took the stairs, or did you take the elevator?
Actually, my first visit to Taiwan, I went to the top in the elevator. This time I didn't stay long enough to take the tour of the building, but we were there for the New Year's Eve celebration, which is phenomenal. 500,000 people attend that. And the good news is that we were guests of the Taipei city government, so we got a police escort in and out. Otherwise, you'd had no way of being able to get in close to the presentation.
Well, don't get used to that with your role here. We're a police escort. Usually those cops are behind us, not in front of us. Mr. Gallardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just real briefly, a quick comment. Chris and I are here for our public shaming. Yesterday was David Galavise's birthday. And you ever seen that movie, 16 Candles, with Molly Ringwald, where she wakes up and everyone forgets her birthday? No one even, it was like a regular day. Well, yesterday in District 5, it was a regular day. No comment, nothing. Chris nor I knew it was David's birthday. And we were just working like a regular day. I was telling him, do this, do that, let's get this done. And not one peep out of him that it was his birthday. And it wasn't until I got home yesterday that you get on your phone and look at Twitter and everything else. And he made a comment about a simple birthday. Oh, he's wishing someone a birthday. And then it was like an hour later, I just dawned on me. I looked on again. I said, oh, hell, it's his birthday. And I called Chris, and I said, Chris, do you know today was David's birthday? And not one of us said anything. So we want to wish David a happy birthday. Chris and I have taken the prerogative to change his birthday from the 14th to the 17th, and that's when we're going to celebrate it. I called Fry's. It was around 5 p.m. I called Fry's real quick. Say, hey, I need a cake. I want to order a cake. And I asked them, I need to pick it up by 8 o'clock or 8 a.m. And they said, well, it won't be ready until noon. I said, well, well, wait till Friday, we'll get a cake for him then. But anyways, happy birthday, David. I apologize, I blame Chris of always. And we will not forget. And when he first got hired, did I not say, Chris, find out when his birthday is so we can put it on the calendar so we don't forget? Ooh. Well, then we had an assessor and a treasurer and a county attorney vacancy and everything. And because of that, his birthday was forgotten. But anyways, happy birthday, David. I hope you had a great day yesterday. And we will definitely celebrate it on your new birthday on the 17th.
You might ask for a raise. So, what a slight. So, happy birthday, David. Okay, I don't have much other than I just wanted to thank the League of Women Voters for having me come out. They have been attending these sessions almost for a full year, and they invited me out to come and talk about a myriad of subjects, basically just about what the board does and what a supervisor does. So after my 2.5-hour speech and bored them to death, they said enough. Okay, that's great. But thank you guys for inviting me out there to speak to your group. So with that, we have an executive session coming up soon after this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This is a quick amount of formal meetings that we've had, one right after another. I thought this one was going to be extremely small, but apparently not. So thanks for everybody coming out and watching us work today. So we will
Adjourn.
adjourn. Okay.